Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got a really rich stack of sources, all centered on a foundational text for ethical living, the 28th chapter of Proverbs.
It's a fantastic chapter.
It is. And our mission today is to, cut through the centuries and pull out the most vital, actionable knowledge from this ancient wisdom. It's almost like a sharp manual for how integrity or, well, the lack of it plays out.
In public life, in the market, in your own heart, it's a field guide, really. Not just moral philosophy, but a guide for, I'd say, civic survival.
Right.
It's custom built for governance, for commerce, and for personal choices. It
Yeah.
just zeroes in on the practical, real-world consequences of picking righteousness over corruption.
And the whole chapter sets up its theme in the very first verse. It's this incredible high-stakes contrast between two kinds of people.
The righteous and the wicked.
Exactly. And the core image is just phenomenal. Proverbs 28.1. The wicked flee when no one pursues, but the righteous are as bold as a lion.
And that image, that's the keynote for everything else that follows, isn't it?
It really is.
It suggests that corruption creates this kind of self-imposed prison of fear. You're always looking over your shoulder, even when there's no actual threat.
So that boldness, the lion-like boldness,
Yeah.
it's not about being physically strong.
Not at all. It's rooted entirely in moral integrity. It's the freedom of having nothing to hide.
It's fascinating how grounded this material is.
Mm-hmm.
Our sources remind us this part of Proverbs is linked to the collection efforts of King Hezekiah's scribes.
Which is a crucial detail.
It means this was designed for high-stakes public settings, courts, markets, royal administration. So this isn't abstract poetry.
No, it's policy advice. And that's why this matters to you, the listener. Whether you're, running a company or voting in an election or just trying to live a good life, we're going to extract wisdom for choosing leaders, for handling wealth, and for cultivating that inner integrity.
And see how these ancient insights are just essential for navigating today.
Absolutely.
Let's start at the top then. Section 1, the challenge of civic life and leadership. Because the chapter immediately jumps into political turbulence. It seems like stability has always been, well, precarious.
It really has. Look at Proverbs 28.2. A land in rebellion has many rulers. The text links moral chaos rebellion directly to political instability.
Which results in that constant dizzying regime change.
Yeah.
We see that pattern today, don't we? When a system loses its moral compass, you just get this rotation of leaders and zero stability.
You do. And this wasn't hypothetical for them. The sources give us archaeological context for this.
Oh, right. Tell us about that.
Well, we have concrete historical evidence. If you think about the period of the divided monarchy in ancient Israel, excavations often show these layers of frequent destruction, regime changes. We even have inscriptions that list a whole series of governors who served for incredibly short spans of time.
So the proverb is just an observation of what was happening on the ground.
A very astute, real-time observation. Chaos breeds rapid, unsustainable leadership turnover.
But the proverb doesn't just leave it there. It offers an alternative, a stabilizing force. Who is that?
It's a man of understanding and knowledge. He's the one who maintains order. So wisdom and deep understanding are the prerequisites for stability.
Like Joseph in Egypt.
That's the classic example, right, from Genesis 41. His knowledge and foresight didn't just save Egypt from famine, they stabilized the entire region. Knowledge is the foundation of enduring governance.
Which makes the contrast with the wicked ruler all the more chilling. When a leader lacks that understanding, they just become destructive.
And the text uses some very violent metaphors to describe that. It paints a picture of a truly predatory figure.
What did it say?
Verse 15 describes a wicked ruler over helpless people as, and I'm quoting, like a roaring lion or a charging bear.
Wow.
It perfectly captures the essence of tyranny. Power used not to protect, but to hunt and devour the most vulnerable.
So on one hand, the just ruler brings order through knowledge. On the other, the wicked ruler is an animalistic oppressor. What does that do to a society's long-term health?
Well, it creates a system based purely on self-interest. That leads to the warning in verse 16. A leader who lacks judgment is, inevitably, a great oppressor.
But it offers a path to stability.
It does. It says the leader who hates dishonest profit will prolong his days.
So integrity isn't just about feeling good, it's practical. It actually benefits the ruler and the nation's longevity.
Absolutely. It's the difference between a transparent system that can endure and a corrupt one that just collapses under its own weight.
Yeah.
And you see the societal outcome so clearly in verses 12 and 28.
What's the outcome?
When the righteous flourish, there is great glory. public safety, celebration, openness. But when the wicked rise to power,
People hide.
men hide themselves. Corruption and wickedness drive people inward. It fosters isolation, fear. It makes just participating in civic life feel dangerous. That hiding is the total opposite of the lion's boldness.
And before we leave justice, we have to touch on the ultimate consequence here. The man burdened by blood guilt. The stakes could not be higher.
They couldn't. Proverbs 28.17 notes the severe fate of that person. He will flee into the pit, and the warning to the public is, do not support him.
And for a modern listener, blood guilt here means homicide, right? Especially unpunished killing.
Exactly. And this connects to real civic procedures of the time. We know they had cities of refuge, for instance, from the Book of Numbers.
Where someone accused of accidental homicide could flee for a trial.
Right. And justice was administered right at the city gates. We have archaeological evidence of judicial chambers at places like Tel Dan, where elders judged capital cases. The message here is stark. The consequences for murder are inevitable, and the murderer is condemned to be a fugitive. They literally live out that prophecy of fear from verse 1.
Fleeing when no one pursues. Okay, so let's follow that trail of corruption. The oppression from a wicked ruler often starts with economic exploitation. So let's shift from the royal halls to the marketplace for section 2. Integrity in the economic arena.
And in the market, the proverb immediately elevates character above currency. Verse 6 gives this uncompromising moral choice. Better a poor man who walks with integrity than a rich man whose ways are perverse.
It's easy to dismiss that as just, well, idealistic. But practically, why is the poor man with integrity in a better long-term position?
Because the rich, perverse man is still living under that shadow of insecurity. The fear of being found out, the fear of losing his ill-gotten gains. The poor man with integrity, though, he might lack material wealth, but he has the lion's boldness.
He's free from shame.
He's free from shame, and he's ready for whatever opportunity wisdom brings.
The text also has these severe warnings about how quick wealth is acquired, specifically warning against exploitation, things like interest and usury.
This is a critical point. Verse 8 warns that the person who gets rich from interest and usury is, well, he's essentially working for someone else.
How so?
Because that wealth is laid up for one who is kind to the poor. The gains of the exploiter are not permanent. They're ultimately reserved for the generous.
And we should pause on usury. For ancient Israel, this wasn't just about lending money.
No, it was about predatory lending, targeting the most vulnerable. The law, in Exodus, for instance, explicitly forbade charging interest to a fellow Israelite who was in need. It was a profound act of covenant compassion.
To make sure debt didn't crush the poor permanently.
Exactly. And if you look outside that system, at cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia, predatory interest rates were common. We're talking up to 33%. So the proverb is countering that entire exploitative mindset.
It also warns against the obsession with getting rich quick. Eager to be rich will not go unpunished.
That frantic pace is where the trouble lies. Verse 2 adds that the stingy man, who is just characterized by greed and haste, he rushes after wealth.
But what happens?
He does not know that poverty awaits him.
It's a fantastic paradox, isn't it? The desperation to avoid poverty through greedy accumulation actually leads to the very outcome you fear.
Whereas the faithful man is patient and abounds with blessing.
Yes, and the counterpoint to that desperate greed is honest, diligent, visible labor. The proverb loves the person who works the land. All right, verse 19 praises the one who works his land for having plenty of food, and contrasts him with who?
With whoever chases fantasies and finds poverty. That resonates so much today. Think about it. The ancient farmer worked the visible land. The modern fantasy chaser might be chasing some dubious crypto scheme or a lottery ticket.
An investment that promises absurd returns with no real foundation.
It's the same human impulse, just trying to bypass the labor required to build genuine value. And the ancient reality, archaeology shows this.
How so?
Evidence from Iron Age farmsteads, especially around Beersheba, they show these small-scale family farms. Simple cisterns, threshing floors. Diligence and consistency was their security model.
And finally, this economic section connects back to generosity. It's treated less like charity and more like a social insurance policy.
That's the core of the covenant ethic. Verse 27, whoever gives to the poor will not be in need, but the one who hides his eyes will receive many curses.
Which we see in the ethics of gleaning rights, like in the book of Ruth.
A beautiful illustration. The law said farmers couldn't harvest the edges of their fields, leaving that surplus for the poor. Generosity isn't an optional extra, it's the path to community prosperity and personal security.
What a powerful system. Okay, let's turn inward for section 3, the inner life. Because the foundation of that lion's boldness has to start here, right? With personal moral choices.
It does. And the link between spiritual life and public obedience is surprisingly blunt.
Especially with the connection between the law and prayer.
Yes, verses 4 and 9. The text states clearly that if one turns his ear away from hearing the law, even his prayer is detestable.
That is a harsh statement. It suggests that your spiritual practice, like prayer, isn't judged by its intensity.
But by the integrity of the life being lived.
Exactly.
It places obedience before mere performance or ritual. If your actions openly contradict the principles you claim to follow, well, your communication with the divine is compromised.
The chapter also tackles self-deception, which is so often enabled by status.
That's verse 11. A rich man is wise in his own eyes, but a poor man with discernment sees through him. Wealth often acts as this blinding privilege.
Success creates arrogance.
It does. You think you're wise because you're successful, and you ignore the luck or the timing or maybe the exploitation involved. The poor man, though, lacking that veneer, often has a clearer insight into the truth of a situation.
It reminds me of confirmation bias, just amplified by money. You surround yourself with people who tell you you're brilliant because, well, you pay them.
Precisely. And the most explicit warning against relying on that self-perception is in verse 26. He who trusts in himself is a fool.
But the one who walks in wisdom will be safe.
True safety has to be sought outside of our own limited perspective.
So, if the wicked are fleeing in fear, how does a person trapped in that cycle reclaim that lion's boldness? What's the path to mercy?
It's through radical honesty and repentance. Verse 13 is pivotal here. He who conceals his sins will not prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them will find mercy.
So concealment is the root of the fear from verse 1.
It is. Transparency, coupled with a commitment to change, that's renunciation, is the prerequisite for healing and for true prosperity. And this isn't just a feel-good sentiment, it's anchored in law.
Right, going back to Leviticus.
Back to Leviticus 5, where a verbal admission of sin had to accompany a guilt offering. King David models it in Psalm 32. It's a core principle.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge the wrong before you can begin to repair the breach.
We also see the power of words defined not just by what we say to God, but to each other. Honesty is valued over flattery.
And this can be a tough one. Verse 23 says, the one who rebukes a man will later find more favor than one who flatters with his tongue. Flattery feels good in the moment, but it's cheap.
It's unhelpful.
It's unhelpful. Constructive honesty that requires both wisdom and courage. It's a much higher form of favor. It's the difference between a real friend and, a sycophant.
And finally, a brief but very cutting remark on family integrity.
Yes. A companion of gluttons disgraces his father. And maybe most condemning of all, robbing your own parents and then saying, it is not wrong, aligns you with a man who destroys.
So it underscores that foundational ethics begin at home.
They have to, honoring and respecting the family unit. When you rationalize theft from the people who raised you, you are engaging in total self-destruction.
This chapter is truly an ethical manual. It spans courts, farms, living rooms. As we kind of synthesize everything, the central guidance is just exceptionally clear that lion's boldness is conditional.
It is absolutely conditional. This wisdom is urging you to live openly, to treat people justly, to work diligently and critically, to demand and install integrity in your leaders.
And all of that together is what grants true freedom from fear.
Making a person and their whole community bold as a lion.
That distinction between the frantic pursuit of wealth and the stable foundation of trust, that feels like the key takeaway, doesn't it?
I think so. The source material contrasts the greedy man who stirs up strife with the one who trusts in the Lord will prosper. And it warns against that stingy man who hastens after wealth and the one who chases fantasies.
These ancient observations are remarkably timely.
They really are.
So for you, the listener, seeking knowledge and practical application, maybe consider this. How might modern consumerist culture inadvertently cultivate the exact greed and the destructive chasing fantasies that this ancient text warns against?
That's a great question. We're so often promised instant security, immediate rewards, without any diligent labor.
And if you trace that anxiety back to your own life, what immediate practical steps, like some self-examination or avoiding predatory schemes or even budgeting specifically for charity, what can you take this week to cultivate that blessing associated with faithfulness and reverent wisdom?
Think about where your true confidence lies. and whether it's sturdy enough to grant you that lion's boldness.
Until next time, keep connecting those dots.
And keep digging into the details.